Ivan Pavlenko, From Family to Family, Chapter 4, Part 1.3, Karpylivka, 8th grade school, read by Natalia Buzova. Then I was convinced that true partisanship was manifested not in chatter at meetings and rallies, not in the resolutions that were passed there, but in attitude to your main work, which you did every day and for which you received a salary. I must say a good teacher was my not only professional, but also party duty. The first important stage in my pedagogical growth was a week-long seminar of directors of studies at the Regional Institute of Professional Development of Teachers Personnel. I listened to a number of lectures there on the organization of the educational process and methodical work in schools. The best directors of studies of the regional center shared their experience on this topic. We visited school number 15, where we got acquainted with the work plans of methodical associations, and class teachers attended some educational classes. Everything that fell into my hands, especially the planning of methodical work, the topics of essays that were being worked on by teachers, interesting educational activities, I noted in my thick notebook so that later we could introduce something similar in our school. I returned from the seminar enriched and charged with new intentions and plans to improve the educational process at school. I started by studying and analyzing what was positive and negative in our school. Every day I attended classes of teachers and educational hours of class teachers. I not only controlled and helped, but also studied myself. I saw different types of lessons, as well as techniques and methods of teaching and program material and checking students' knowledge. I was convinced that we had our own masters of pedagogical work. Those were, first of all, mathematician Khovailo, biologist Drapikivska, language teacher Lipkivska, and primary school teacher Vasilevska. But their experience was not studied or generalized. Everyone stewed in their own juice, had their lessons, and went home. It was necessary to break this negative trend and to prove to the teachers that mutual attendance of lessons will benefit each of them and increase the general level of educational work at the school. The first half of the year was ending. All educational work in it was carried out according to plans that had been drawn up even before my arrival. I began to implement my requirements and my vision of the tasks of the pedagogic team from the second half of the year, when new calendar plans for teachers and educational plans for class teachers were drawn up. At the meeting, I spoke about the guidelines of the Institute for improving the qualifications of teachers. I substantiated to what the educational plans of class teachers had to be like, emphasized in particular the specification of educational events with the determination of their dates so that every teacher had the opportunity to visit them, learn and use something new and interesting in their work. I also focused on the content and forms of methodical work. It had to be reduced to studying, dissemination, and generalization of best practices, which in turn had to ensure high efficiency of lessons and solid knowledge of students. One of the main directions for achieving this goal had to be mutual attendance of lessons. During the year, each teacher had to work on a topic from his own experience and write an essay, supporting it with an open lesson. The topics of the essays were discussed and became the property of the entire teaching staff. Of course, I may not have discovered anything new, but I did stir up a little my colleagues at work who, living in Suman, came to Karpylivka only to have their lessons and leave for home. People get used to circumstances in which they are comfortable and profitable and opposed everything that disturbs their usual life activities. I felt something similar in our school, but I carried out my mission as a director of studies, and it was dictated by my official duties and my conscience. Once the teacher Vasilevska came to the office to work with the class register. We exchanged a few words with her, and then she said, "The teachers are afraid of you. They say that you will soon be our principal. What about the sloop? Shall we marry him? I joked in response. He is already old for marriage, she smiled and added, and for the principal too. No, I will not be your principal, I objected. But with the help of the entire team, I will try to revive the educational process, directing and controlling educational and methodological work. I first of all tried to find something good in each teacher's work in order to develop it and pass it on to others. I never looked for faults because only those who do nothing make no mistakes. Positiveness inspires the teacher, instills in him faith in his own strengths and capabilities. And the negativeness is depressing. It humiliates, destroys their personal methodology. Every teacher has something special. Everyone cannot be fitted under one vanguard. Moreover, it is often a demi one. It is not possible to resort to pedagogical voluntarism and impose certain techniques and teaching methods without appeal just because someone from higher ups called them innovative. You can't blame the teacher because innovation has already become rampant in our country, and it comes as a rule from those educational figures who are at the moment occupy executive chairs and often promote themselves rather than best practices. My benevolent attitude towards colleagues' work stimulated mutual trust between us. Teachers began to turn to me for advice more often, and I did not refuse anyone. I could, for example, sit down for the class teacher's educational plan and edit it in my free time. While proposing the topic of the essay, I also gave supporting material or recommended where to find it and how to use it. Gradually, the teachers became convinced that the head teacher did not look for bugs in their work, but helped them to work creatively. I am convinced that the teachers need the head of the teaching team only as long as he skillfully uses and develops their creative potential. That year, instead of another 5-year plan, a 2-year plan for the development of the national economy was somehow adopted at the top. It was another invention of Khrushchev, who tried to quickly implement his projects. On this occasion, a noisy campaign began in the country. It didn't skip schools either. The pioneer groups undertook to provide assistance to the collective farms in harvesting potatoes, corn, vegetables, as well as acorns for the pig farms and gathering food for the sheep. Special emphasis was placed on raising rabbits and delivering them to the state. School principals were required to build rabbit farms, and pioneers were required to breed eared rabbits at home as well. Our school did not stand aside. The collective farm provided premises and cages for breeding rabbits, and students took charge of them. In addition, each pioneer at the meeting in their units gave a promise to grow a certain number of rabbits in the household. Lessons were often cancelled, and students and teachers went to work on a collective farm or in the forest to collect acorns or twig fodder. Whether there would be successes or not, we had to show that we were working for them. And I prepared the stand, Pioneer's 2-year plan is calling, which was supposed to reflect our obligations to participate in the implementation of the party's new blueprints for the further advancements of agriculture. The principal of the school found an artist who painted the stand beautifully. Its size in width reached 1.5 meters, and in height about a meter. It was divided into sectors with quotations taken from party documents and Khrushchev speeches. In each of them, a certain type of obligation was highlighted: numbers and colorful drawings, images of rabbits, corn, pigs and acorns, calves and twig fodder, and pioneers near them. We also posted a few photos. The panorama turned out to be attractive and interesting. We framed it, glazed it, and hung it in a prominent place in the corridor. Each examiner was sure to stop by it, carefully consider and express approval. And after some time, a regional meeting was held on the basis of our school, the seminar of senior pioneer counselors, at which our counselor shared the experience of the organization of the competition under the motto, "Pioneers' 2-year plan is calling." The educational process was gradually improved and acquired a creative character. Our school was staffed with pedagogical personnel better than others, especially those located behind forests and swamps, where the graduates of pedagogical universities did not want to go. I was told about a young teacher from Dnipropetrovsk who, after graduating from the institute, was sent to the village of Holonevichi, from which it was impossible to get out during a flood, except by plane. So she worked for a month and a half and fled. They say that she was afraid of fleas, which were everywhere, in the landlady's apartment, in the old school with the rotten floor, and among the students she taught. And we were next door in Tsumai, or next door to Tsumai, where there were enough teachers, including for our school. It's true, they came to us and left us the same day, and that reduced their opportunities in extracurricular educational work, but it did not affect the quality of the lessons. It's good that at least we had such people and not 10th graders as teachers. That's why I understood them and their family situation. Everything depends on the person. You can live near a school and hardly pay any attention to work, or you can come from far away and be a good teacher.